If you want to achieve success in your life, I believe you must look in four directions. Those include upward, inward, outward, and onward. Too many people in the recent generations have begun to look primarily inward. That self-centeredness of people is born out of the humanistic philosophy of life that teaches that man is getting better and better. It is all about self-actualization. There is no consideration of others or their needs or their ambitions. Take a look with me at the looks of life that are necessary to make you successful. First, you must look upward. A truly successful person must begin with an upward look. This look is to God, our Creator, Sustainer, and Redeemer. Your life to be completely fulfilled must take an upward look that leads to an upward turn. You must realize that your life has an upward dimension. That is God loving into your life and you reciprocating by loving Him in return. You need to take an upward look to learn of the love of God for you. You must receive the love of God toward you before you can give love to others. The upward look is where you find an intimate relationship with God through Jesus Christ. You need to take an upward look to discover the source of victory when you face opposition in the quest for your God-given dream. When opposed, pray the prayer in 2 Chronicles 20:12. Oh dear God, won't you take care of them? We're helpless before this vandal horde ready to attack us. We don't know what to do. We're looking up to you. You need to take an upward look to discover the riches of your Creator that await you. Paul said in Philippians 4:19, and my God will meet all your needs according to His glorious riches in Christ Jesus. Richard M. DeVos said, the riches of life, the love and joy and exhilaration of this can be found only with an upward look. You need to take the upward look because you will stand in need of strength to live life successfully. When you realize your need of a power greater than yourself to succeed, you will find that power you need in Christ. Finding Him, you will then be able to offer strength to others in their upward striving. Look upward. Second, you must look inward. The inward look is one of evaluation. You need to know who you are to know the things that need changing, shaping, and molding in your life. Paul talked about the inward look when he wrote to the Corinthians regarding being prepared to observe the Lord's Supper. This is why a man should examine himself carefully before eating the bread and drinking from the cup. 1 Corinthians 11:28. The word for examine there means to test. Before you are going to be prepared to live a successful life in any sphere, you must first put yourself to the test. Test your lifestyle, your relationships, your motives. You can avoid God's test in your life if you perform your own. What you do not test, judge, and deal with, you will face His testing in. God is looking to see what kind of person you are. He is more interested in your being than in your doing. Henry Van Dyke said, happiness is inward and not outward. And so it does not depend on what we have, but on who we are. Henry W. Longfellow wrote, let us labor for an inward stillness and an inward healing. God alone speaks to us, and we wait in singleness of heart that we may know His will, that we may do His will, and do that only. You see, it is when we know who we are that we hear God's voice and learn to do His will. It is through the inward look of evaluation that we discover there is something of value in us that is to be loved by God and appropriately loved by us. And that is when we are qualified to take the next look. Third, you must look outward. To achieve success, you must begin with the upward look, then the inward look, then the outward look. Jesus taught that to fulfill the 10 Commandments, we had to observe these. In Mark 12:29 through 31, Jesus replied, "The one that says, 'Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is the one and only God, and you must love him with all your heart and soul and mind and strength.' The second is, you must love others as much as yourself. No other commandments are greater than these." In order to love as we should, we must look as we should outward. He was talking about making God number one. He was talking about our loving others, what he is doing in us, and then to love others as we should. Paul had good advice for his friends in Philippi. He said in Philippians 2:3, "Don't be selfish. Don't live to make a good impression on others. Be humble, thinking of others as better than yourself." When we get outside of ourselves, God is pleased. This is the humility Paul was talking about as he encouraged his readers. He said, first of all, be humble by renouncing your pride. He said, be humble by respecting others. Look to others as being honorable and respectable. Consider others better than yourself. Have more honor, more respect for others than you do for yourself. This means that a successful person listens more than he or she talks. If we want to be successful, we must give consideration to the outward relationships of our lives. It is easy to just believe that you are right and refuse to hear another's opinion. But I read, as long as you are focused on self, you are going to be defeated. And fourth, you must look onward. Paul taught the Philippians in Philippians 3:13, "Friends, don't get me wrong. By no means do I count myself an expert in all of this, but I've got my eye on the goal, where God is beckoning us onward to Jesus." We cannot hold our own in the game of life. We are either progressing or regressing. Paul found that the extremities and the tests of life were fuel that powered the vehicle of success in his life. Nathaniel Hawthorne said, "The world owes all its onward impulses to men ill at ease. The happy man inevitably confines himself within ancient limits." They are the outward impulses that lead us forward. God is calling us on to success and development, into maturity and serviceability. Henry Ford gives encouragement in these words, "Life is a series of experiences, each one of which makes us bigger, even though sometimes it is hard to realize this. For the world was built to develop character, and we must learn that the setbacks and griefs which we endure help us in our marching onward." The things that draw us onward are many times the major shapers and molders of our lives. They are God's tools for moving us higher and higher toward his ideal for us. I have always found that blessing follows brokenness in our lives. You are more apt to take the onward look when you are in a crisis or in a valley. Like Paul said, God is beckoning us onward to Jesus. That means that he is looking for ways to implement his plan of total redemption and usefulness through us. Growing makes us successful, and in succeeding, we demonstrate the power of God to change us for the better and on toward the best. Take these looks upward, inward, outward, and onward.